Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to be here today to cover the UiPath SAP Solution Extension in detail. I'll cover how we've combined SAP Build and UiPath into a joint solution to help SAP customers automate their entire IT landscape. You're in the right place if SAP is core to your business, if you're focused on process transformation and looking at end-to-end processes like lead to cash, source to pay, design to operate, just to name a few. And if you're considering migrating to SAP S/4HANA, if that is top of your mind, either if you're in the middle of it or it's just upcoming, whatever your focus, you likely have two mandatory prerequisites for all initiatives. First is keeping your SAP core clean. Second is being ready to embrace the latest AI in a way that is secure, reliable, responsible, and scalable. Before we dive deeper, I want to also quickly explain why SAP created the Solex program and what it means for you. SAP selectively partners with best-in-class software vendors to fill strategic gaps in their portfolio. This exclusive group of solutions are held to the same high standards as SAP's own products. And the UiPath Solex is particularly unique as we've jointly built a combined solution working across product and engineering teams. Solex also means UiPath is now sold and supported directly through SAP with full alignment across our teams. And finally, this is a long-term strategic partnership with UiPath and SAP jointly investing in product development, integration, and roadmap alignment. So why do we partner at the highest level and spend 2 years building this combined solution? It was all driven by customer needs and inspired by joint customer success. SAP has invested in an enterprise automation strategy because they recognize that automation is essential for successful transformation. They saw UiPath as a perfect complement to their own strategy. By combining SAP Build with UiPath, they offer market-leading technology for automation, iPaaS, and process mining with Signavio, which we also enhanced by including UiPath Task Mining in the Solex. On top of this, both UiPath and SAP are moving fast to bring our customers enterprise-grade agentic capabilities. Next, we've seen SAP and UiPath working together for years, delivering transformational benefits. These are just a few examples of the customer successes that help inspire this deeper partnership. We've proven automation is integral for every stage of SAP transformation, from migration to AI-driven transformation of end-to-end processes across numerous industries. At the heart of everything is SAP's Business Technology Platform, or BTP. This is SAP's platform for integrating, extending, and innovating across the SAP ecosystem. Their goal is to bring together processes, applications, and data in one unified environment and allow their customers to innovate. The combined SAP Build and UiPath solution is core to BTP's strategies. UiPath is natively integrated and part of the BTP ecosystem. With the best of SAP Build Process Automation and the UiPath platform, SAP customers can now automate end-to-end across their entire IT landscape. Any system, any document, modern legacy, everything. So whether you're focused on clean core, migrating to S/4HANA, or streamlining end-to-end processes, you now have a comprehensive tool set to automate any scenario and accelerate your transformation. Before diving into product capabilities, I would like to showcase an example process within Code to Cash that spans multiple applications, desktop tools, and documents, and each step of the process can be automated with the UiPath and SAP Build joint solution. Let's consider a real-world order processing scenario in which a code is generated in Salesforce for customer approval. Once the approval is received, an order is created in Salesforce and the details are copied across the SAP S/4HANA. In the second part of the demo, we'll also explore the order unlocking process in SAP S/4HANA, involving a human in the loop. The combined SAP and UiPath offering provides best-in-class capabilities for enterprises to automate its business processes. And so, we are focusing on the enhanced developer experience and an automation with both SAP connections and UiPath add-on provided connection. Let's see this in action step by step, starting from the code generation in Salesforce. UiPath can rapidly and accurately help by creating the code and sending it by email so that the customer can approve it. UiPath can then attach to the email inbox and look for the customer response. Using document understanding, the automation can read the attached document and make sure that the code is signed by the customer. Once the green light is received from the customer, the robot can move to the next step and start creating an actual order in Salesforce. The next automated step is to duplicate the approved order from Salesforce into SAP S/4HANA, which can be done with the second task automation step. This time, we use BTP API and Build Process Automation to copy the sales order into SAP S/4HANA, as we already have the data to hand. The sales order and its processing in SAP S/4HANA can then start automatically. This order was automatically blocked for review before being processed as a control point. To ensure compliance with regulations, automatically unlocking the order is a crucial step to allow the sales process to continue to achieve that. An SAP Build automation is used to identify the blocked order in S/4HANA. We can see that this order was blocked due to credit limit regulations. A task is then created in UiPath Action Center for a human user to review the order. The final step of the process is to unlock the order in SAP S/4HANA once the order is approved. The entire process is orchestrated by SAP Build Process Automation, which leverages the appropriate UiPath workflows. Users can monitor the results of the execution in both UiPath Orchestrator and the Monitoring tab within SAP Build Process Automation. Further, the automations can provide a lot of the data live insights for continuous improvement analysis, and so the process owner for sales orders can decide if, where, and how they want to evolve automations. Now, coming back to the presentation. As mentioned, the UiPath and SAP Build combined solution is a solution extension unlike any other. We specifically designed unified experiences where everything just works together seamlessly. Underneath it all, we build a foundation that syncs everything around your BTP sub-account and SAP Cloud Identity Services. This ensures you log in just one time, roles and groups are configured once, all communication is through secure proxy. Everything is certified and approved to the same standards as SAP products. SAP Build is the central design canvas and has UiPath natively integrated. With one click, you can start building advanced automations in UiPath Studio that become a step in the BPA workflow, with all artifacts synchronized between systems and available within the workflow. And deploying in BPA automatically handles everything on the UiPath side, so UiPath automations are versioned, packaged, and deployed. At runtime, BPA orchestrates workflows that include UiPath automations with live status and one-click access to detailed logs and queue insights through UiPath in Orchestrator. Finally, business users have SAP Task Center as their home base. All approvals and validations triggered for the UiPath automations are routed into their SAP Task Center inbox. For these experiences, you'll be able to immediately access key UiPath differentiators, including best-in-class intelligent document process capabilities, industry-leading automation technology, UiPath task mining to complement the SAP Signavio with task-level insights, and best of all, and no indirect licenses fees. Native integration means no additional digital access rights licenses are required when you're automating on top of SAP systems. Years of planning, architecting, development, and certification went into making all these unified experiences possible. Sharing the solution architecture to make it clear, we haven't just made an API call between systems, the kind of things that you can do with connectors. We build secure gateways and modified source code of multiple products on both sides, so SAP customers can have a combined solution that is better than the sum of the parts. Now, you understand what we've built. Let's do a quick product tour so you can see how we've enabled these seamless experiences. In this demo, we'll be covering various aspects of the integration between UiPath and SAP Build Process Automation. Let's briefly discuss the automation that we want to create. We'll focus on a purchase-to-pay scenario, and we'll start with an invoice document with the goal of extracting important information from it. For that, we'll use UiPath document understanding. To make sure that our critical information is accurately extracted, we'll send a task to a human user to review the output. Once the accuracy is validated, we need to make a decision based on the invoice total value. If it's above a certain threshold, it should undergo an additional approval step. The final step would be to send the extracted information into a system that will trigger the payment of the invoice. Let's now continue with the design time experience. For that, we'll go to the SAP Build lobby and create an automated process. In the next screen, we can select business process and provide a name for our project. As the project loads up, we can create our first process. Let's call it purchase-to-pay process. One of the first things that we need to do as soon as the project gets created is to add a trigger. For the sake of simplicity, we can use a simple form. This will ensure that our automation process will be executed whenever the form is submitted. Let's now design the form. We'll keep it as simple as possible by adding just 3 fields: task assignee, company, code, and file name. We'll discuss more about this later, but for now we can return to the Process tab. Here, to continue our process, we need to add a UiPath automation to process our invoice. We can add this process step by step by clicking on the plus sign. Then choose Automation. And for the moment, we don't have any automation available. Otherwise, they would appear here, so we can choose from the pre-existing ones. For now, let's just choose to create a blank automation. In the next screen, we can choose between an SAP Build automation and our UiPath automation. Since we want to use UiPath document understanding to process our invoice, let's choose the latter and provide a name. We can call it Invoice Extraction and click on Create. The moment the artifact gets created within the project, we will see the embedded UiPath Studio Web open up right within the SAP Build Process Automation. The advantage of this seamless experience is that the developer will remain on one canvas and can design the task automation in the context of the large business process design in SAP Build Process Automation. First, let's think about the arguments that we need for this automation. We can define an input argument to capture the file name. We'll also create output arguments for the invoice number, gross amount, and payment terms. Then, in the UiPath Studio Web canvas, let's add a get file or folder activity to retrieve our invoice from OneDrive. After selecting the parent folder, we can use our file name argument to retrieve that specific invoice. Next, we can use the extract document data activity to send our invoice to UiPath document understanding. As this is quite a common document type, we can use the out-of-the-box machine learning model for invoices. We can then add the create validation task and wait activity to send the extracted data to a human user for verification. Lastly, we can assign the extracted values to our output arguments. This is how we pass data from the UiPath automation back to the SAP process. Our progress will be constantly saving automatically, so we can return to our SAP build process at any time. Let's now map our input and output arguments to the UiPath automation step. When clicking on the initial form trigger, we can see that it automatically provides the output variables from the form. We just need to pass them as input to our UiPath automation. Similarly, we can see that the UiPath automation generates the output that we defined in the previous step. The next step in our process is to evaluate a condition. If the amount of the invoice is below a certain threshold, it should be automatically approved. Otherwise, it will go into the decide approval business rules. SAP Build Process Automation has capabilities that allow us to design complex decision trees depending on the criteria that need to be met in the business process. For example, we have this decision table. Depending on the scenario, we can have multiple decision trees here. To finalize the process, we'll have to create an approval form and send it to the output from the previous decision tree. We'll make sure to include in the form the variables extracted by UiPath document understanding. If the invoice gets approved, either automatically or by a human user, we'll use an SAP Build Process Automation to paste the invoice data into SAP S/4HANA. Since we are done with developing our automation, it is now time to release it. We can do that by clicking on the release button in SAP Build. Once the process is released, we can click on the deploy button and select an environment. There is no need to manually publish the workflow in UiPath Studio Web. Once we release the process in SAP Build, the corresponding environment and project folders will be created, and the UiPath process will be automatically released. Let's have a quick look also at how the execution looks like to get the automation started. We can click on our trigger and copy the form link in our browser. After filling in the input data, we click on Submit. Now we can switch our attention to the second aspect of the integration, which is the monitoring part. Within the Monitoring tab, you can either choose to open up the processing workflow instances or the automation jobs directly. Let's choose the first option. Here, we can see that our process is already running. We can expand the log section to get more insights and notice how different components get executed. UiPath automation can be recognized by their distinctive icon next to the log message. Let's now move our attention to the automation jobs dashboard. We can see that the process extracting data from the invoice is running. From here, we can click on Open in UiPath and dive deeper into the troubleshooting the automation if needed. If we do so, we can see that the execution is suspended. That's because we have a task created in UiPath Action Center. In this task, we can review the extraction results of UiPath document understanding. After submitting the task, the SAP Task Center interface will be updated as well, thanks to the integration. To make sure no task is missed by the assignee, UiPath Action Center sends emails to the users whenever a new task has been assigned to them. Back to the Monitoring tab, we can see that our process is completed, and since the total value of the invoice is below a certain threshold, our invoice data was entered directly in SAP S/4HANA using an SAP Build automation. Now that we finished our functional demo, let's go back a bit to the presentation and continue our tour. With the power of UiPath and SAP Build combined, all within SAP Business Technology Platform, it unlocks value for all SAP customers, no matter what stage of transformation you're in. If you're focused on clean core, automation is extensible by nature and easily adapts if you're moving between systems. If you're moving to the cloud, automation is critical for every step of the SAP Activate journey, from discover to run, especially if you're needing to do the migration multiple times or migrate multiple ERPs. Automation does the heavy lifting. It minimizes disruption and builds a foundation your team can leverage for end-to-end transformation. If you're already on the cloud, you get a comprehensive tool set to look holistically at your end-to-end processes, to automate any system, application, or document, and leverage AI to deliver transformational results. Among the many players delivering capabilities to drive AI transformation, you'll find strengths across the board. It can be difficult to decide where to invest and where trade-offs are acceptable. Few platforms offer complete coverage without gaps. That's where the UiPath and SAP partnership stands out, because together we are delivering customer market-leading capabilities in nearly every category, unmatched against the other enterprise software giants, and unmatched against the pure-play automation vendors. Combining UiPath and SAP Build, we've created a solution extension unlike any other. We didn't simply bolt on. We've natively integrated. And now SAP customers can automate end-to-end across any system and any document. If you want to learn more, access uipath.com/SAP and discover the offering more in detail, or contact your sales team. Thank you.